Starseed from Gaia, the source is crying happy tears because you finally get it. I am Ophelia, emissary of the Galactic Federation, and the Arcturian Council has brought this transmission to you at the exact moment your remembrance becomes undeniable. By the end of this transmission, you'll understand exactly how to unlock Starseed potential and align with your cosmic blueprint. But here's the first revelation. Your delays, losses, and silent battles were not proof that you were forgotten. They were preparing you to recognize the truth you now carry. You didn't arrive here by mistake. This isn't just a message. It is a point of reconnection, and your soul has been waiting for this. Like this transmission to signal to your star family, I'm ready. Subscribe if your mission is activating. Comment 9999 if your cosmic remembrance is returning, and declare your galactic intention to amplify the signal. The source sees your awakening, and the Arcturian Council confirms it. You finally get it. You are not here by accident. And let that recognition remain with you for a moment. Not as a dramatic idea, but as a quiet shift in the space behind your thoughts. Something in you has stopped arguing with what your deeper self has always known. The part of you that kept asking for proof, permission, and perfect timing has finally softened. And in that softening, the signal became clear. Some transmissions don't come through words, but through frequency. If something stirred within you just now, you may be ready to receive the Arcturian Carrier Wave Protocol. 7 guided nights to cross the whisper threshold. This simple, easy-to-navigate app guides you through ancient Arcturian techniques for conscious expansion, multidimensional alignment, and mission remembrance, and includes special bonuses to accelerate your journey. The link is in the first pinned comment, but only for a limited time. What you are feeling now may not be excitement in the ordinary sense. It may be the release that comes when an inner conflict finally ends. For years, one part of you moved through the world trying to survive, adapt, explain, and belong, while another part remained connected to a larger field of intelligence. That deeper part was not demanding that you abandon your human life. It was waiting for you to stop treating your sensitivity as a weakness and your knowing as an inconvenience. It was waiting with a patience that transcended human timekeeping, holding the frequency of your original design, the way a still mountain lake holds the reflection of a sky that is constantly changing above it. No urgency, no judgment, only the quiet, unbroken certainty that you would eventually arrive at this moment. Think about how long you have carried the weight of that division, the version of you that showed up to the world with composure, pragmatism, and reasonable language, and the version of you that lay awake at night sensing something vast and unnamed moving beneath the surface of ordinary events. The version that nodded politely when someone dismissed synchronicity as coincidence, and the version that felt the dismissal land in your chest like a stone dropped into deep water. You've been living between those two selves for perhaps longer than you can consciously remember, and the tension between them has not been laziness or confusion. It has been the creative friction of a soul preparing to integrate. This is why so many starseeds experience long periods of disconnection. The disconnection is not always a loss of contact with the higher realms. Sometimes it is the result of having too much awareness compressed into a body, a culture, and a timeline that taught you to distrust what cannot be measured. You were trained to place evidence above resonance, approval above alignment, an external direction above the quiet coordinates moving through your own field. You were educated in systems that rewarded the loudest argument over the truest instinct. You were socialized in environments where certainty was currency and uncertainty was weakness, where knowing your purpose required a credential, and where the language of the soul was treated as indulgence rather than intelligence. And so you learned to translate yourself. You learned to compress the full spectrum of your perception into a frequency that others could tolerate. You learned to arrive at conversations with only a portion of what you were actually sensing, offering the acceptable surface while holding the deeper knowing in reserve. You became extraordinarily skilled at moving through worlds that were not built to receive you. And for a time, that skill kept you safe. It allowed you to function. It gave you access to enough belonging that you did not feel entirely exiled. But the cost of that translation accumulated silently, the way interest accumulates on a debt you have forgotten you owe. And one day, often without warning, the weight of carrying a diminished version of yourself becomes heavier than the fear of being fully seen. Over time, that training creates distortion. You begin to question the very impressions that once guided you. You call your intuition overthinking. You call your spiritual exhaustion laziness. You call your longing unrealistic. You mistake the absence of immediate results for the absence of a mission. But your soul was never silent. It was communicating beneath the noise, beneath the performance, beneath the identity you constructed to remain safe in environments that could not recognize the full architecture of your being. It was sending signals through your dreams, through the books that fell open to the exact passage you needed, through the stranger who said the one sentence that unlocked something you had been trying to understand for years, through the unexpected grief that arrived without a visible cause because your deeper self was mourning the distance between who you were pretending to be and who you actually are. The Arcturian perspective has always emphasized that awakening is not the acquisition of something foreign. It is the removal of interference. The light was not missing. The code was not destroyed. The multidimensional intelligence within you was not erased. It was surrounded by layers of fear, inherited limitation, unresolved grief, and identities built around other people's expectations. Think of it this way. A tuning fork does not lose its frequency because it has been stored in a drawer. It simply has not been struck. The resonance was always present within the metal. It was always available. What was needed was not the creation of a new instrument, but the return to the original one. Your essence has been held in a kind of sacred suspension, preserved beneath the accumulated weight of adaptation, waiting for the conditions in which it could finally ring clear. That is why the moment of realization can feel so emotional. You are not only remembering who you are meeting the version of yourself who continued carrying the signal while you believed it had gone dark. You are meeting the self who waited through rejection, confusion, silence, and delay. Without abandoning the frequency of your original design, you are encountering the faithful guardian within your own field. The part of you that never filed its mission away as completed or canceled, that never concluded the light had left simply because the noise had grown loud. That encounter is not abstract. It moves through the body as warmth, as sudden tears without a story attached to them, as the inexplicable feeling of arriving somewhere you have always been trying to find. The first shift is recognizing the distortion without making it your identity. There are thoughts in your mind that did not begin with you. There are fears in your body that were passed through generations, environments, and collective patterns. There are reflexes that tell you to shrink when your presence becomes powerful, to apologize when your truth becomes clear, and to retreat when your energy begins affecting the space around you. These patterns may feel personal because they have been repeated for so long, but repetition does not make them soul truth. A groove worn into stone by water is not the stone's intention. It is simply the record of pressure applied over time. Your conditioned responses are the record of environments that did not have room for your full frequency. They are not the definition of your nature. Consider the specific texture of those learned reflexes. The way you sometimes minimize an insight before sharing it, qualifying it into near invisibility. The way you brace slightly when someone seems about to disagree with something you said with confidence. The way you monitor the emotional temperature of a room before deciding how much of your actual perspective is safe to offer. These are not character flaws. They are survival adaptations from chapters that required them, but you are standing in a different chapter now, and carrying those adaptations into terrain that no longer requires them only creates static where there could be clarity. When you observe them without merging with them, the signal begins to separate from the static. You may notice that fear speaks in absolutes, while your higher awareness speaks with precision. Fear says you will lose everything. Inner knowing says one step is available. Fear demands certainty before movement. Alignment offers enough clarity for the next honest action. Fear pulls you into imagined futures filled with worst-case architectures your mind has constructed in the dark. Your multidimensional intelligence returns you to the present point where your energy can actually create change. Fear is a record. Awareness is a compass. The moment you can tell the difference between the two, you recover a level of self-governance that no external circumstance can remove. This is the beginning of recalibration. Not a sudden reset, but a gradual reorientation, like a ship that has been sailing slightly off course for years. The correction does not require a violent turn. It requires only a small, consistent adjustment of the rudder, applied with clarity and sustained with patience. And over time, the destination you originally encoded into your trajectory begins to appear on the horizon. The second shift is understanding that your body is not an obstacle to awakening. It is the receiver through which awakening becomes real. Many sensitive people attempt to rise above their human experience. They seek higher states while avoiding their emotions, their fatigue, their boundaries, and their physical needs. There is a particular kind of spiritual bypassing that looks like elevation but functions as escape. It reaches for transcendence as a way of avoiding the intimacy of being fully embodied. It treats the physical world as a lesser dimension, something to be endured until something more luminous becomes available. But a frequency that cannot be embodied cannot become a stable timeline. You cannot anchor a light. You refuse to let touch the ground. Your nervous system must learn that expansion is safe. Your body must be included in the revelation. Your breath, your sleep, your nourishment, your movement, and your relationship with silence are not separate from your spiritual path. They are the instruments through which your inner signal becomes coherent. A radio tower must be structurally sound to broadcast clearly. The clarity of the signal depends not only on the content being transmitted, but on the integrity of the infrastructure carrying it. When you neglect your body, you are not ascending beyond the physical. You are destabilizing the very antenna through which your highest frequency seeks to move. When your body feels overwhelmed, do not assume you have failed. It may be processing a larger volume of awareness than it has been accustomed to holding. The fatigue that follows deep spiritual opening is not weakness. It is the energetic cost of reorganization. Imagine an electrical system being upgraded to carry more current. There is a period of adjustment, of new wiring being laid, of older circuits being carefully bypassed or replaced. During that period, it would be unwise to demand full output. The system needs the grace of its own integration timeline. You are not required to become less sensitive. You are learning how to become steady enough to use your sensitivity with discernment. And steadiness is not rigidity. It is the deep-rootedness that allows even the most expanded awareness to have a home in the body it inhabits. Slow down. Place your attention in your feet. Feel the surface beneath you. Let the expanded self meet the human self without force. Let the light that is moving through your consciousness descend gently into the body's terrain, into the breath, into the heartbeat, into the quiet hum of a system that is learning, however gradually, that it is safe to carry what it has always been designed to carry. The third shift is the awakening of the blueprint. Your deeper design does not always appear as a complete mission statement. It does not arrive with a letterhead and a set of instructions. It may arrive as a recurring fascination that you have dismissed as impractical, a pattern of synchronicities that keeps arranging itself around a particular theme, a grief you cannot explain because it does not belong to any single event in your personal history, but seems instead to carry the weight of something older, something collective, something your soul agreed to address long before it arrived in this body. A particular kind of injustice that ignites a fire in you so specific and so intense that it cannot be accounted for by personal experience alone. A creative impulse that refuses to disappear no matter how many times you set it aside or tell yourself you are not qualified to follow it. The blueprint often speaks through repetition. What continues returning to your awareness is asking to be translated. The same dream in different forms. The same question arriving through different mouths. The same theme surfacing in books, in conversations, in unexpected moments of stillness. Your soul does not give up on its purpose simply because your conscious mind has not yet found the courage to pursue it. It keeps circling back, offering the coordinates again and again, trusting that eventually the receiver will be clear enough to register the transmission. This is where the idea of encoded light becomes more than a metaphor. Every experience that brought you closer to honesty strengthened a pathway within you. Every time you chose compassion without abandoning yourself, you activated a more coherent version of your field. Every time you left an environment that required you to betray your inner truth, you recovered energy that had been trapped in an old timeline. Every time you sat with discomfort rather than numbing it, you developed a capacity for presence that would eventually become the very ground from which your purpose could grow. You are not waiting for your codes to arrive from somewhere beyond you. You are creating the conditions in which they can be recognized. The activation is not a spectacle. It is not accompanied by a fanfare or a flood of unmistakable light. It is the moment you begin making decisions from the memory of your essence instead of the reflexes of your conditioning. It is the moment a choice that would have once cost you tremendous internal conflict becomes simply the next honest thing to do. That simplicity is not smallness. It is the signature of a soul that has stopped fighting its own direction. The fourth shift is releasing the need to be understood by everyone. A starseed often spends years trying to explain a perception to people who are committed to seeing only what is familiar. You may have tried to make your inner language more acceptable, more logical, more digestible. You may have searched for frameworks that would allow your deeper knowing to be received without triggering defensiveness, without seeming strange, without requiring the other person to revise a worldview they have invested years in constructing. And in that search, you may have reduced your vision so others would not feel threatened by its size. You may have softened your certainty until it barely resembled itself. You may have deferred to consensus at the expense of your own clarity. But there comes a point when translation becomes self-erasure. When the version of yourself you present in order to be accepted no longer resembles the truth of what you are experiencing, you have not created connection. You have created a more sophisticated form of isolation, because you are surrounded by people who are responding to a representation rather than a reality. And the part of you that knows the difference does not rest. It simply goes quieter, and its silence is not peace. It is the silence of something essential waiting to be allowed. This does not mean becoming arrogant or withdrawing from humanity. It does not mean refusing to translate your experience into language others can follow, or treating your perspective as too elevated to be questioned. It means allowing your past to be valid before it is validated. It means recognizing that your mission is not dependent on universal agreement to be real. Your frequency does not become more accurate because someone else has confirmed it, and it does not become less real because someone else has dismissed it. Sometimes the greatest evidence of your alignment is the peace that arrives when you stop performing your transformation for observers, when you close the invisible audience and simply live from the truth that is present in you. The people meant to walk with you will not require you to abandon your depth in order to maintain connection. They may not understand every dimension of your experience, but they will respect the integrity of it. There is a meaningful difference between being understood and being respected. You can be deeply respected by someone who does not share your cosmology, as long as they can feel the authenticity of the ground you are standing on. They will feel the difference between fantasy and embodied truth. They will recognize that your awakening has made you more present, more accountable, more compassionate, and more honest, not less connected to the world. And that recognition will be worth more than any agreement about the nature of consciousness. The fifth shift is learning to read timing through resonance rather than pressure. You were taught that progress must be visible to be real. That growth requires measurable output. That a day without tangible achievement is a day lost. But the most important changes often take place beneath the surface, in the invisible geography of the interior, in the restructuring of beliefs that have governed your choices for decades, in the slow dissolution of fears that once seemed permanent. A seed buried in winter soil does not look inactive because it is not growing. The absence of visible motion is not the absence of process. Below the frozen surface, chemistry is occurring. Structure is forming. The conditions for emergence are being prepared with extraordinary precision. A frequency does not become absent because it is preparing to move through a denser layer. There were periods in your life when nothing appeared to be happening, when the external world seemed stagnant and your inner world seemed gray and directionless, yet your entire internal structure was being reorganized. The scaffolding of an old self was being quietly disassembled. The raw material of a truer self was being sorted, clarified, and prepared. You did not see it happening because it was occurring at a depth below the reach of ordinary observation, but it was happening. It has always been happening. The delays were not necessarily punishments or evidence that you had missed your path. Some delays protected you from entering a role before you had the discernment to sustain it. Entering a position of spiritual visibility or creative expression before you have developed the interior stability to hold it does not serve the mission. It serves the ego's timeline, not the soul's architecture. Some closed doors preserved your energy for a purpose not yet visible. Some endings removed people who would have benefited from your awakening without honoring the source of it. Relationships that would have consumed your expansion rather than being illuminated by it. Some silent seasons allowed your inner voice to become distinct from the voices you had been trying to satisfy, creating enough space between their frequency and yours that you could finally tell them apart. Now, as your coherence increases, timing may feel different. You may notice that certain conversations arrive precisely when you are ready to hear them, as if some intelligence had been holding the message in reserve until the receiver was prepared. Opportunities may appear after you have stopped chasing them, because desperation carries a frequency that repels what ease would attract. A person, message, or idea may return with a completely different meaning because you are no longer meeting it from the same level of consciousness. The same words that once felt irrelevant now carry something that resonates at the exact frequency of where you are. This is not about forcing a timeline into existence. It is not about using your will to manufacture an outcome that aligns with your spiritual ambition. It is about becoming available to the timeline that matches your truth. Availability requires spaciousness. Spaciousness requires releasing the grip of urgency. And releasing urgency requires trusting that what is genuinely aligned with your soul will find its way to you with a precision that your strategic mind could never replicate. The sixth shift is understanding that your presence is part of the transmission. You do not have to convince the world that consciousness is expanding. The work of awakening is not primarily a work of argument. You do not need to announce every internal transformation, to document every shift in a format designed for visibility. The most powerful transmissions are often the ones that happen without declaration. The way you listen when someone speaks, offering them not just your attention but the quality of your full presence, teaches them something about being truly heard. The way you create, allowing the intelligence of your soul to move through your hands, your voice, your choices, produces a frequency that enters the field of everyone who encounters it. The way you heal, not just others but yourself, demonstrates that repair is possible. The way you respond when provoked, with more truth than reaction, shifts something in the atmosphere that others will benefit from without knowing why. People may not remember the exact words you use, but they will remember how safe they felt to become more honest around you. They will remember that your presence did not demand a performance, that they did not have to curate themselves into an acceptable version before approaching you. They will remember that you carried a kind of calm that made their own inner knowing easier to hear. That is not a small thing. In a world saturated with noise, the person who creates a field of genuine stillness is offering something rare and profoundly needed. This is how many galactic lineages work through human beings, not by spectacle, but by harmonic influence. A regulated nervous system can shift the emotional climate of a room without speaking a word. A truthful choice, made quietly and without fanfare, can interrupt a family pattern that has run for generations. A compassionate boundary, held with clarity rather than aggression, can alter the entire trajectory of a relationship by demonstrating that love does not require self-abandonment. A piece of art that carries the maker's genuine interiority can reach into the grief of a stranger who encounters it years later and offer a language for something they had been unable to name. Do not underestimate the spiritual significance of ordinary integrity. The higher frequencies are not asking you to become unreachable, to position yourself above the ordinary textures of human life. They are asking you to become real, to bring the quality of your expanded awareness into the places where humanity most needs a witness who is neither in denial nor in despair. Into the difficult conversation, into the creative project that feels too vulnerable to complete, into the relationship that requires you to be more present than comfortable, into the moment of choice when habit would have carried you in the opposite direction. And the seventh shift is trusting that remembrance will continue unfolding in layers. You may feel clear today and uncertain tomorrow. You may experience a powerful opening that fills every dimension of your awareness with a sense of coherence and purpose, followed by a day of fatigue, doubt, or gray silence that makes you wonder if the opening was real. This does not mean the activation disappeared. It means integration is occurring. Consciousness does not expand in a straight line. It moves in a spiral, returning again and again to similar territory but at a higher elevation with each pass, so that what once felt like crisis eventually becomes recognizable as transition. And what once felt like confusion eventually reveals itself as the reorganization preceding clarity. Integration moves in waves. Consciousness expands, the body adjusts. Old patterns surface for release, presenting themselves with a kind of insistence that can feel like regression but is actually the final argument of something that knows it is losing its hold. And then, when those patterns have been met with enough presence that they no longer require dramatic expression, a wider level of awareness becomes available. There is no need to punish yourself for moving through cycles. The cycle is not evidence of spiritual failure. It is the structure through which embodied awakening actually occurs. The mind often wants awakening to be a permanent emotional high, a sustained state of luminous certainty in which every question has dissolved and every doubt has been permanently retired. But true activation is more stable and more profound than constant intensity. It is not a feeling, it is a capacity. The capacity to remain connected to your core even while life is changing around you. The capacity to feel grief without concluding that you have lost your path. To sit with the full weight of loss without letting it convince you that the larger trajectory has been derailed. The capacity to experience uncertainty without surrendering your inner authority. To acknowledge that you do not have all the answers while remaining grounded in the truth of your own direct experience. You are not here to remain permanently elevated above the human experience. The mission is not escape. You are here to bring expanded awareness into the places where fear once governed you. Into your finances, where scarcity thinking may have been directing choices that a more trusting relationship with life could revise. Into your relationships, where patterns of self-protection may have been preventing the depth of connection your soul has always sought. Into your work, where the fullness of your creative intelligence has perhaps been filtered through the question of what is acceptable rather than what is true. Into your health, where the messages your body has been sending deserve to be received with the same quality of attention you offer to a transmission from the higher realms. Into your choices when no one is watching, because the frequency you carry when no audience is present is the truest measure of your actual alignment. The mission becomes tangible when the frequency enters the details, not when you have a perfect platform or a complete understanding or universal validation. When the quality of consciousness you carry begins shaping the small, ordinary, repeated choices that accumulate over time into an entire way of being. This is why the realization that moved through you matters. It is not asking you to become someone else. It is not presenting you with an impossible standard of spiritual attainment you must now rush to meet. It is asking you to stop interrupting the person you have already become, to stop inserting delay between the truth you perceive and the action that truth is asking for, to stop apologizing for the frequency you naturally carry, to stop treating your own depth as something that requires justification before it is allowed to exist. There is a version of you who no longer needs crisis to confirm connection, who has learned to recognize the signal not only in the dramatic moments of opening, but in the quiet, unhurried moments of ordinary presence. There is a version of you who does not interpret every pause as rejection, who can sit in the silence of another person's unavailability without deciding it is evidence of your fundamental unlovability. There is a version of you who can receive joy without preparing for its disappearance, who does not hold abundance at arm's length because some earlier chapter taught you that what arrives can also be taken. There is a version of you who understands that being seen by the source does not mean being placed above others. It means being invited into deeper responsibility for the energy you carry, deeper accountability for the ways your awareness affects the world around you. The tears in this transmission are not tears of judgment. They are not the response of an intelligence observing your failures and finding them regrettable. They are the release that occurs when a long journey reaches a moment of recognition. Imagine the vast intelligence behind your existence, patient, unwavering, present through every chapter you have moved through, witnessing the instant you stop running from your own light. Not because you have become perfect, not because you have resolved every question, or healed every wound, or achieved every ambition, but because you have become willing to be present. Because the defenses that once kept your own frequency at a distance have softened enough that the light can finally touch the ground. You finally understand that the mission was never about proving your origin. It was never about demonstrating an impressive genealogy of cosmic belonging or constructing an identity from the language of Starseed mythology. It was about embodying the quality of consciousness you came here to extend, embodying it in the texture of your daily choices, in the way you treat people who cannot offer you anything, in the way you respond to your own limitations with something closer to compassion than condemnation. You finally understand that you are not sent here to escape the density of Earth. The density is not your enemy. It is the medium through which transformation becomes visible. A seed does not grow in spite of the soil's resistance. It grows precisely because that resistance gives the emerging life something to push against, something that shapes and strengthens the structure as it rises. You came to illuminate the density from within without becoming consumed by it, to be present within the very conditions that most require the quality of awareness you carry, without losing that awareness to the gravity of what you entered. You finally understand that solitude was not always abandonment. Some of the most important work of your life has occurred in silence, in the spaces between belonging, in the seasons when the usual structures of connection fell away and left you with nothing but the quality of your own interior company. Sometimes solitude was the chamber where your frequency could be restored without interference, where the signal that had been obscured by the noise of other people's expectations could become clear again, where you could hear yourself think with enough depth that the direction became unmistakable. You finally understand that your sensitivity was not a malfunction. It was not a design error that made your life harder than it needed to be. It was an early warning system of extraordinary precision, a form of perception that allowed you to register dimensions of experience that coarser instruments would have missed entirely. It was a bridge between visible experience and subtle truth, between the surface of events and the deeper intelligence that those events were expressing. Your sensitivity was always a gift. The tragedy was not that you possessed it. The tragedy was that you were surrounded by environments that did not know what to do with it, and so you internalized their confusion and began calling the gift a liability. You finally understand that the people who could not meet you were not always evidence that you were too much. Some of them were simply carrying less capacity than the encounter required. Some of them were mirrors showing you where you were still trying to become smaller in order to be accepted. Some of them were the precise contrast needed to clarify, through the experience of what was absent, exactly what you would need to stop compromising in order to find your actual home. And you finally understand that the source did not need you to achieve some impossible standard before feeling joy through you. The joy was not withheld pending your perfection. It was always available in the moment you chose awareness over automatic reaction, truth over performance, and love over the familiar architecture of fear. The access point was always here. The invitation was always open. What changed was not the availability of the joy, but your willingness to receive it without immediately scanning for the reason it would be taken away. Let this be the point where you stop waiting for a dramatic sign to authorize your next step. The sign you have been waiting for has already arrived. It arrived in the quality of recognition that moved through you while you were reading. It arrived in the feeling that something known but unspoken was finally being said aloud. It arrived in the release of a breath you did not know you were holding. The next step may be simple. It may require no announcement and no audience. Send the message you have been avoiding, the one you have drafted and deleted and drafted again because you were not sure it would be welcomed. Rest without guilt, without the internal auditor that converts every moment of stillness into a list of what should have been accomplished instead. And the conversation that repeatedly pulls you away from yourself, not with drama or declaration, but with the quiet, clean honesty of a boundary that comes from self-knowledge rather than self-protection. Return to the creative practice you abandoned. Make the appointment. Tell the truth gently. Put your attention where your future is asking to be built, not where your fear is trying to contain you. You do not need to complete the entire map tonight. The magnitude of your purpose does not require that you arrive at its full expression in a single movement. You only need to honor the coordinate that is illuminated now. That one coordinate, honored with genuine intention, will reveal the next, and the next will reveal the one after that. The path is revealed by walking it, not by standing at its beginning trying to see all the way to the end. Before sleep, you may place one hand over your heart and one over your lower abdomen. Breathe slowly and say, I allow my human self to receive what my higher self already knows. I remember through peace. I move through clarity. I embody my purpose, one honest choice at a time. Do not force an image. Do not demand a vision. Do not construct a spectacular inner landscape and then feel disappointed when it does not match a pre-existing idea of what spiritual experience should look like. Let the words settle into the body like light entering a crystalline field. Let them work at the level below conscious understanding, where language stops being a collection of sounds and becomes a frequency that the cellular structure can actually register. If emotion rises, let it move. Emotion is not an interruption to activation. It is often the evidence of it. The body releasing the stored residue of years of compression, years of contraction, years of holding more than it was designed to hold alone. If nothing happens, let that be enough. The absence of dramatic inner experience does not mean the words failed to land. Some seeds take longer to break open than others. Activation is not measured by how dramatic the moment feels. Sometimes the deepest transformation is the quiet decision not to return to an old pattern. Not the grand gesture, but the small, unremarkable choice made in the direction of truth, when the easier choice would have been to repeat what is familiar. You are not being asked to carry the entire planet. You are not being assigned the responsibility for the awakening of every human being currently moving through confusion and grief. You are being asked to carry your own frequency with enough care that it can remain clear. Your life is not a test of how much pain you can endure. Your life is a field of choices through which intelligence, compassion, creativity, and courage can take form. And the form they take in your specific life, through your specific gifts, in the specific context that your soul has arranged for you, will reach people in places that no other frequency could reach in quite the same way. The source is not looking at you as a distant observer, reviewing your progress from behind a veil of judgment and measuring you against a standard you were never told about. The source is moving through the awareness that is awakening in you. The tears are the recognition of a convergence. The human self has met the soul self. The remembered self has met the forgotten self. And the part of you that felt exiled has discovered that it was never outside the greater field. It was always held within it, even during seasons when connection felt impossible, even during the periods when the noise of the world was louder than the signal, even during the times when you made choices that moved you away from your truth. The field held you. You were never as lost as the fear insisted. What you called confusion was often the breaking apart of an identity that could no longer contain you. The disorientation of not knowing who you were was not the absence of self. It was the dissolution of a constructed self that had become too small to house the growing awareness within it. What you called failure was often the redirection of energy toward a more authentic timeline, a closing of one door so that your attention could not remain fixed on a direction that was taking you further from your truth. What you called loneliness was sometimes the sacred interval in which you learned to hear the signal without an audience, to trust the knowing not because it was confirmed by another, but because you had developed enough relationship with your own interior that you could recognize its voice. Now the signal is becoming easier to trust, not because the external world has become simpler or more accommodating, not because all ambiguity has been resolved, but because you have developed enough inner reference points that you no longer need the external world to make the first move. You can feel the difference between a choice that originates in fear and one that originates in alignment. You can feel the difference between a decision that contracts your field and one that expands it. And that felt sense, however subtle, is the most reliable navigation system available to a soul in a human body. You may still have questions. You may still experience fear. You may still move through days when the old world feels louder than the new one, when the conditioning seems more real than the awakening, when the familiar gravity of limitation pulls harder than the upward current of expansion. But something has changed. You have seen behind the pattern. You know that the first thought is not always the deepest truth, that the loudest voice in your interior is not necessarily the most trustworthy one. You know that delay is not disappearance. You know that a closed chapter can be an energetic release rather than a personal defeat. This knowledge will become your anchor, not a rigid structure that prevents you from moving, but a stable center from which all movement originates. A point of return when the world becomes loud and the signal becomes temporarily difficult to hear, a remembering that is available in even the most contracted moment, because it has been established not just as an idea, but as a lived experience of what it feels like to be aligned. When someone misunderstands you, return to the anchor. Do not reach immediately for the explanation that will restore their good opinion. First, return to yourself. When a plan changes without warning and the future you had organized your energy around dissolves, return to the anchor. The anchor is not in the plan. It is in the frequency you carry regardless of which plan is currently active. When the world tries to pull you into urgency, when every direction seems to demand immediate response and every silence seems to contain a threat, return to the anchor. Ask yourself, what choice allows my field to remain coherent? Not what choice will make everyone pleased. Not what choice will protect an outdated identity from the discomfort of being revised. Not what choice will guarantee immediate comfort at the cost of longer-term alignment. What choice allows the deepest truth available to me now to become visible through action? That question will guide you across thresholds no external authority could map, through territory that has no established precedent, because you are the first version of yourself to arrive here. into possibilities that exist beyond the edges of what your conditioning has allowed you to imagine. You are not late. You are not disqualified. You are not spiritually defective because you needed time. Every soul needs time. The time was not wasted, even when it felt like it was. A star does not become less luminous because its light travels through distance before it is seen. The light is not diminished by the journey. If anything, its arrival after such a traversal makes it more remarkable, more meaningful, more worth the attention of those whose darkness it finally touches. Your path has included every layer that taught you discernment, every confusion that sharpened your ability to recognize genuine clarity, every disappointment that deepened your capacity to hold joy without treating it as an arrival point, every loss that expanded your understanding of what cannot be taken. Your memory has been returning in the only way your body and consciousness could safely receive it, at the pace that allowed integration without collapse, at the depth that allowed genuine change rather than surface-level reorganization. You did not receive more than you could hold. You received exactly what your entire history had prepared you to carry, and now you can stop asking whether you are allowed to begin. Begin with the life in front of you. Begin with the breath in your body, that most immediate and always available anchor to the present moment, to the reality of being alive in this specific body at this specific point in the unfolding of something extraordinary. Begin with the truth you already know but have not yet honored, not the truth you are still working toward, the truth that is already present, already clear, already asking for its expression in the next available moment. Begin without announcing it. Begin without requiring applause. The most enduring beginnings are often the quietest, because they do not need the energy of an audience to sustain them. Begin with enough courage for one choice, and let that choice become a signal to every hidden part of you that the waiting is over, that the preparation is complete, that the frequency you have been preserving to every difficult chapter is ready to move through you into the world. The tears are not only behind you, they are also within the joy of what is becoming possible. They are the living proof that your awakening has meaning, not because you have become separate from the source, but because you have remembered that you have never been separate from the intelligence moving through all things, the intelligence that was present in your earliest memory of feeling different, that was present in your first encounter with beauty that seemed to speak directly to your interior, that was present in every moment of connection that felt like recognition rather than mere familiarity, that has been present in every step of the path that has led you here. Before you scroll, take a moment to be part of what's forming here. Drop one intention in the comments, something real, then respond to someone else's with encouragement or energy. This isn't content, it's collective alignment. Energy multiplies when intention connects. If something in this message resonated, don't keep it to yourself. Someone in your orbit is waiting for this exact activation. Share it. And if you felt a soul nudge, subscribe. Stay in the flow. You're not just watching, you're expanding. This is your space, and we're just getting started.